beneath the seemingly calm surface of the water. Could something be watching us? If any creature from the prehistoric world has managed to survive into our time, it likely never left the place where light dares not go. Because sometimes the most terrifying thing isn't what we can see, but what remains hidden in the dark. The ocean covers more than 2/3 of our planet, and yet, paradoxically, we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the ocean floor beneath our own feet. While technology has taken us into orbit and beyond, the world beneath the waves remains shrouded in mystery. Over 95% of the ocean is still unexplored, and every year, as tens of thousands of new species are recorded, a significant number are found in the sea, from organisms smaller than the head of a pin to life forms that challenge everything we thought we knew about biology. We live on a blue planet, but we've only ever skimmed its surface. And that's exactly what makes it so uniquely dangerous, because no one fears the dark more than those who don't know where they are. In the frigid depths of the ocean, there may be millions of species we've never seen, never named, and never imagined could still exist. Some may be harmless, but perhaps a few were never meant to be found. Because water, whether calm or violent, shallow or deep, has always had the power to conceal what the land could never comprehend. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. Ningen, the pale figure at the end of the earth. There is a place where sunlight never reaches. There, amid the eternal fog and endless ice, the frigid waves continue to whisper secrets that have never been told. The waters surrounding Antarctica have long been among the most desolate and least explored regions on the planet. And it was precisely in this remote, unforgiving corner of the world that a creature emerged. One as elusive as a nightmare, and yet so strange that even the most seasoned sailors were left unnerved. They called it Ningen, a simple name, yet one that carries an inexplicable sense of dread. In Japanese, the word merely means human, but the creature that bore this name had a form that defied all logic and once seen could never be forgotten. According to accounts from a crew of Japanese sailors aboard a whale research vessel operating in the southern Pacific Ocean, the creature surfaced one frigid night from beneath the waves. They described it as nearly 90 feet long, comparable to the length of a commercial airplane. Its skin was stark white, like freshly fallen snow. Its head was round, with no discernible facial features, yet shaped so strangely that it seemed as if it had been sculpted from someone's imagination. The body had no legs, but on either side were large, fin-like limbs, or perhaps arms, so long they moved like tendrils, drifting slowly through the water. The lower half tapered off into a mermaid-like tail, and yet nothing about its form was beautiful or enchanting. It inspired not wonder, but an unsettling chill. There exists no clear or verifiable evidence of the Ningen, just blurry photographs, brief and unfocused video clips, and crude sketches drawn from memory by startled sailors. All of these are merely fragmented pieces of a larger puzzle. Yet what's remarkable is that the sightings of the Ningen didn't stop after just one incident. Since the early 2000s, there have been numerous unofficial reports from Japanese research crews working throughout the southern hemisphere. Some sailors claimed they saw it gliding just beneath the surface, moving slowly and almost silently. Others insisted it only appeared at night and vanished as suddenly as it arrived, as if it had never been there at all. Some theories suggest the Ningen might be a previously unknown species of whale, dwelling in the cold, deep waters where few people ever venture. Others believe it to be nothing more than a hoax, carefully fabricated to generate attention. But regardless of its origin, the image of the Ningen continues to haunt the minds of those who have heard its story. Unlike many cryptids with clearly defined shapes or links to prehistoric fossils, the Ningen has a form that feels disturbingly familiar. It doesn't resemble a predator, nor does it look like a sea dragon or a massive shark. Instead, it looks like a human figure, isolated in the furthest reaches of the world, quietly watching those who dare trespass into its frozen domain. And if the Ningen truly does exist beneath Antarctica's thick layers of ice, a place that humanity has barely begun to explore, then perhaps we are not merely facing the mystery of an unknown creature. Perhaps we are confronting something far more profound, a question that lingers in the silence of the deep. What lives beneath our feet when night falls, when the ocean goes still, and when no one is watching? Megalodon, a forgotten predator or a silent survivor? Deep within the vastness of the ocean, there are mysteries that leave behind no trace, only a feeling. A vague sensation, as if something is watching us from below, from a place no light can ever reach. A place so deep that the temperature freezes, and even sound turns thick and heavy. There is one particular story that once left marine biologists baffled, not because of what it revealed, but because of what it couldn't explain. In 2004, off the coast of Australia, a female great white shark, over 9 feet in length and a seasoned apex predator in the oceanic food chain, was tagged with a small GPS tracking device on its dorsal fin as part of a research study. For the first 4 months, its behavior was entirely unremarkable. It swam along the coastline, hunted in the warm, shallow waters, and never once descended below 600 feet. Then, at exactly 4 a.m. on Christmas Eve, it vanished. Not gradually, not erratically, but in a straight, deliberate plunge into the deep. Within less than 2 minutes, the GPS signal showed the creature diving to a depth of nearly 1,900 feet, at a speed so fast it defied logic. And then, the signal disappeared. At first, researchers believed the tracking device had simply detached and fallen to the ocean floor, but the data told a different story. Throughout the descent, the surrounding temperature recorded by the tracker remained constant at 78 degrees Fahrenheit, far warmer than the 46 degrees Fahrenheit it had measured when attached to the shark's fin. The theory that the tag had fallen off was immediately dismissed. Had it sunk into those icy depths, the temperature should have plummeted instantly. But it hadn't. And when the device was later recovered, it was found to be coated in what appeared to be stomach acid. The truth slowly emerged. The shark hadn't dived on its own. It had been swallowed whole. The question then was this: what kind of creature could do such a thing? Some speculated that it may have been a killer whale, an orca, known to prey on sharks and capable of impressive feats. But orcas have never been observed diving deeper than 850 feet, not even half the depth at which the shark disappeared. The more widely accepted theory, proposed in 2014, was that the great white had been attacked by an even larger great white, one driven by extreme hunger or territorial aggression. But even this explanation is riddled with contradictions. Great white sharks very rarely practice cannibalism, especially in the nutrient-rich waters off Australia's coast. Territorial disputes are typically resolved through posturing, not through violence. And most telling of all, the stomach temperature. No recorded great white has ever exhibited an internal temperature as high as 78 degrees Fahrenheit. That data seemed to point towards something else, something warmer, larger, and far more dangerous. It was from here that the name Megalodon began to resurface. Megalodon, literally giant tooth in Greek, was one of the most terrifying predators ever to roam the earth. Estimated to grow up to 60 feet long, with teeth the size of a human hand, it once dominated the world's oceans millions of years ago. Mainstream science maintains that Megalodon went extinct roughly 2.6 million years ago. But not everyone agrees. From California to South Africa, from Japan to Argentina, there have been hundreds of reports, anecdotal records, and even video evidence claiming the appearance and sudden disappearance of unusually large sharks. Some believe they are simply basking sharks or whale sharks mistaken for something more sinister. But no one has explained the presence of massive shadows twice the size of known species, or the sharp, oversized teeth found embedded in geological layers far younger than they should be. In 1875, during a survey by the HMS Challenger, a massive tooth was dredged up from the ocean floor. When analyzed, it was estimated to be only 11,000 years old, more recent than the earliest human civilizations. If that is true, then Megalodon may not have vanished entirely. It may have simply receded into the dark, silent depths of the sea, living on like a nightmare that refuses to fade. Perhaps Megalodon never went extinct. A silhouette from a lost era, memories beneath the sea. In times of war, history often speaks of what took place on land, the battles, the maps, the trenches. But there are memories preserved in the depths of the sea. Fragments, rusting wrecks, and sometimes strange stories with no clear place in the history books. One such tale comes from the First World War, when the ocean was not only a battlefield for mankind, but perhaps also the place where something else had awakened. In 1915, the German submarine U-28 was operating in the North Atlantic on what seemed to be an ordinary mission. On July 30th, the vessel launched a torpedo that struck the Iberian, a British merchant ship transporting cargo westward. The underwater explosion was violent and precise, causing the ship to rear up almost vertically before it sank beneath the waves. By all accounts, the story should have ended there, but what happened next is the part that no one would ever forget. Roughly 25 seconds after the ship disappeared beneath the surface, a second explosion, stronger, more mysterious, rippled through the water. And from the dark ocean floor, something massive was hurled into the air amid a shower of wood and twisted metal. According to the submarine's commander, Georg G. von Forstner, the creature rose nearly 80 feet into the sky, writhing and twisting above the sea before crashing back into the waves and vanishing without a trace. The commander was not alone in witnessing the event. 6 of his senior officers, including the navigator, chief engineer, and sonar officer, also saw the creature. All of them later confirmed it resembled a marine crocodile with a body approximately 60 feet long, 4 fin-like limbs, a long pointed tail, and a narrow, ancient-looking head. They had no time to take photographs. The moment passed too quickly, and the shock was too great. But the memory remained, vivid, consistent, and recorded in the ship's log as something too monumental to forget, yet too strange to believe. In the field of paleontology, there is a creature known as the mosasaur, a colossal marine reptile that ruled the oceans millions of years ago. It was considered the apex predator of the dinosaur age, capable of growing up to 60 feet long, with a sleek, whale-like body and a skull and jaw more terrifying than any predator alive today. According to theory, it went extinct some 66 million years ago, alongside the last of the dinosaurs. But what if that wasn't entirely true? If what Captain Forstner and his crew saw that day really was a living mosasaur, then it had somehow survived for tens of millions of years, hidden from every radar, every camera lens, every human exploration, and had only been forced into the light by a random explosion. In fact, this story is not an isolated incident. Over the past 300 years, there have been numerous reports from sailors, fishermen, and even scientists describing creatures resembling sea crocodiles, spotted in waters from New Zealand to South America, from South Africa to Canada. Some claim to see its ridged back breaking the surface like the spine of a great reptile. Others spoke of eyes, cold and lizard-like, watching silently from just beneath the waves. Meanwhile, the scientific community has maintained a firm stance. They insist these sightings are of saltwater crocodiles, or simply the product of imagination under extreme weather conditions. But there is one simple truth that cannot be ignored. The largest saltwater crocodile ever recorded measured only about 20 feet. So what then are the creatures that stretch 3 times that size? Perhaps, somewhere beneath the thick fog and the dark swell of the sea, there still exist ancient survivors, not written into textbooks, but never truly gone. And if that's the case, then maybe it is we who have stumbled into the territory of another age, where the past has refused to rest and the future watches us quietly from the shadows. The hump between the waves, when prehistory knocks on a quiet lake. There are places that seem to hold nothing but silence. A still lake, its surface smooth as glass, with mist drifting slowly across it like nameless wandering spirits. But then, a ripple, a strange shape gliding just beneath the water. And the story begins, not with evidence, but with a feeling. The feeling that we are not truly alone, even in the heart of a peaceful lake. Among all the legends of lake monsters, none is more famous than Nessie. the creature said to dwell within the deep, dark waters of Loch Ness, nestled in the Scottish Highlands. The tale of Nessie is not new. It dates as far back as the 6th century, when ancient records spoke of a water beast attacking a swimmer trying to cross the loch. But it wasn't until the 1930s, when modern roads opened up along the lake and tourists began to arrive in droves, that Nessie stepped out of folklore and into popular culture. Since then, there have been more than 1,000 eyewitness accounts, dozens of photographs, and even video footage describing a strange creature with a humped back, a long neck, and a body that moved gently through the rippling water. The image calls to mind an ancient being, the plesiosaur, a marine reptile from the age of the dinosaurs, known for its elongated neck rising above the surface and its 4 flipper-like limbs. Plesiosaurs were once thought to have gone extinct some 66 million years ago. But if Nessie does in fact exist, could it be that some offshoot of this species has survived? And if so, how? Many theories have been proposed. Some believe Loch Ness may be connected to a series of underground caves or hidden river systems leading to the sea, allowing a creature like the plesiosaur to remain concealed for centuries. Others entertain the idea of time pockets, places where time and survival conditions do not follow normal rules, acting as natural cocoons that preserve secrets the Earth has yet to share. Still, the legend of Nessie has not been without its shadows. One of the most infamous incidents was a photo taken in 1934, an eerie black and white image showing what appeared to be a head and neck emerging from the lake's surface. It later turned out to be a model attached to a toy submarine. Incidents like this eroded public trust and gradually turned Nessie from a biological mystery into a cultural symbol. But Loch Ness isn't the only place where plesiosaur-like stories have surfaced. In 1977, a Japanese fishing vessel off the coast of New Zealand hauled up a strange corpse with a long neck and fins resembling those of a marine reptile. A photo taken at the time revealed a body eerily similar to that of a plesiosaur, stirring both scientific and public excitement. While chemical analysis later suggested the remains may have belonged to a decomposing basking shark, doubt lingered. Because science doesn't always have a perfect answer for every question. And then, in one of the most unexpected places, in the heart of modern-day London, images emerged that chilled those who saw them. In 2016, a video uploaded to YouTube showed a massive dark shape moving beneath the surface of the River Thames, not far from the O2 Arena. Just days later, 2 more videos appeared, each showing the same undulating, lifelike movement, surfacing briefly, then disappearing into the murky water. Some suggested it could be a dolphin or a seal, but wildlife experts couldn't say for sure. No known creature of that size or behavior had ever been recorded in the Thames. And so, the question became a habit. If not a plesiosaur, then what? If not Nessie, then what exactly swims beneath the feet of millions in the heart of a city too busy to notice? Perhaps they are only the shadows of ancient dreams cast upon the water's surface, or perhaps life, in some form, has chosen to hide rather than vanish. And perhaps lakes, rivers, and oceans do more than reflect the sky above. They also reflect the things we once believed in, once feared, and perhaps once left behind. Kraken, the shadow that reached out from folklore. Every civilization carries within it a fear, etched deep into its collective memory. For medieval Europeans, that fear took the form of a colossal creature, with tentacles large enough to crush a ship and long enough to drag an entire crew down to the ocean's darkest depths. They called it the Kraken, a name that sounds like a scream, or perhaps a curse, passed from the mouths of sailors who had ventured too far. For centuries, the Kraken was the embodiment of oceanic dread, a symbol of how life at sea could be swallowed whole without warning, how those who dared to travel too far might never return. From Norwegian fishermen to ancient Greek mariners, stories of the Kraken emerged with striking similarity. A massive shadow rising from the abyss, dozens of coiled tentacles twisting like serpents, silently closing in on its prey. And yet, for hundreds of years, modern science dismissed the Kraken as pure myth, a tale spun to scare children or to keep lonely sailors company in the vast emptiness of the sea. There was no proof, no body, no formal recognition of such a creature's existence. That is, until 1857, when a man named Japetus Steenstrup, a Danish naturalist, changed everything. On a beach, he discovered the beak of a giant squid. It was larger than any specimen ever recorded before. Not long after, 2 long, suction-covered tentacles washed ashore in the Bahamas. After careful measurement, Steenstrup concluded that the animal these body parts belonged to could have been several dozen meters in length. And with that, he uttered a sentence that would enter maritime legend: "The Kraken is real." From that moment forward, myth began to dissolve into reality. We now call them giant squids, Architeuthis ducks, or, in even rarer cases, colossal squids. These creatures dwell at depths between 800 and 1600 meters, in a world without light, where the cold is absolute and human presence is nearly non-existent. They almost never surface, rarely interact with humans, and most of what we know about them comes from dead specimens, either washed ashore or extracted from the bellies of sperm whales. It wasn't until 2004 that the first live footage of a giant squid was ever captured, and the world held its breath. What was once thought to be fantasy now emerged in flesh and form. With a length of up to 15 meters and eyes the size of dinner plates, these creatures possess the haunting beauty of a nightmare sculpted in the dark. But the question remains, are giant squids truly the Kraken? Perhaps they are, perhaps not. As large as they may be, giant squids are relatively gentle predators. They feed on small fish and other squid and tend to avoid larger creatures. There are no confirmed accounts of them attacking ships or humans. And most importantly, they do not inhabit the surface waters, where most of the Kraken legends are said to have taken place. So what created such a powerful and lasting terror? Some historians believe the myth was born from the bodies of dead squids washing ashore, mingled with the vivid imagination of seafarers. Others suggest that ancient sailors, living in a constant state of fear, may have seen something bigger, older, more aggressive than anything we have ever documented. Because even though we have peeled back the mist surrounding the Kraken, many questions remain unanswered. It's possible that what we call the giant squid is merely the tip of the iceberg. It's possible that somewhere in the nameless trenches off the coasts of Iceland, Norway, or Greenland, there exists a creature that has never needed to surface, because it has never needed to hide. There's an old saying among sailors: the sea never lies, it just doesn't speak. And the Kraken, if it truly exists, may still be out there, listening, watching, and waiting for another age to arrive. One in which humans, once again, forget that we are not the only ones who rule this place. There is something strange about water. It is both clear and obscure. We can see our own reflection upon its surface, and yet we have no idea what lies just beneath the waves before us. It is like memory. Some things remain, even when their shape has long faded. And within that world, where light can never reach the bottom, the stories continue to whisper. So the next time you find yourself standing before a still lake or stepping barefoot to the edge of the sea, pause just for a moment, look down, and instead of asking, "Is there something down there?" try asking, "Is something down there, looking back at me?"